Sick of people at ESPN or Sports Center who think they have their heads on their shoulders but really don't? Well, it's time for the Jimmy the K Sports Show, and we're going to give you the most urgent sports news. Now it's time for the Jimmy the K Sports Show. Sit back, buckle up, and get ready for life in the fast lane with the #1 sports show on the web. Here we go, my sports friends. Sorry, I can't play all that music for you. Sorry, I can only tease you with it. That's all I can do legally. It's Tuesday evening. I'm your host, Jimmy the K. You see me each and every evening, Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. I'm glad that you stopped by. Really, the polls have closed. I hope you all went out and did your civic duty and went out and voted for the candidate of your choice. But as mentioned earlier on Facebook and everywhere else, this is definitely not a politics show, and I'm glad that you stopped by. The polls have closed, so let's get to some of the sports news. That the most recent stuff I'm going to get to last. And get some of the older stuff first, kind of mix it up here and there. Last week, we learned that the Texas Rangers were going to lose Josh Hamilton till the end of April. We know as Ranger fans, it's something to become, it was something to be expected. The Rangers practically got Josh Hamilton for nothing last year, so to sit him even for a month or 2 or 3 or 4, or even take his roster spot away and give it to Ian Desmond, which we'll get into more later on into the show, practically means nothing to the Texas Rangers, because the fact is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are still paying for Josh Hamilton to be a Texas Ranger. So even if he retired right now, guess what? The Angels would still be paying. Haha. Well, the Yankees stuck it to us with the A-Rod deal. We stuck it to the Angels. I don't get it. But hey, maybe we'll stick it to the Yankees one day. It's not good news. He went for a second opinion last week. Not good news. He's going to be out till the end of April, first part of May. We'll get into who the Texas Rangers signed on a one-year deal and my thoughts and on that person being signed to the 1-year, $8 million deal. It's definitely not somebody that you would expect. He's somebody that's going to be a converted shortstop. But if he wants to learn from the best of them, all he has to do and surprise Arizona is go across the baseball field to the Kansas City Royals and talk to Alex Gordon. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I want to discuss a little bit about the rise and the fall of Josh Hamilton. What caused the rise? What has caused the fall? We remember back in 2010, he was the AL MVP. He was at the peak of his career with the Texas Rangers. Things had happened for Josh Hamilton that were just so positive. His numbers were there. They continue to be there until he left and was traded to Anaheim. I'll get more into that. What caused the rise? What caused the fall? First and foremost, I think what really caused the fall was the fact that, he's got an addiction and a disease. It's a disease. He's got to deal with something that many of us will probably never have to deal with. The addiction or the disease of alcoholism and marijuana use, weed use. He's somebody that has a disease and an addiction, try saying that fast 3 times, an addiction that the Texas Rangers are just going to have to, dare I say, and I don't mean to sound rude about this, but mollycoddle. They're going to have to mollycoddle him for basically the remainder of his career, or as long as he's with the Texas Rangers. The Rangers have been really good about that. They're a very team-oriented team, a team that is built around the team, the players that are built around each other, that support each other, and that's why Josh Hamilton has done so well with the Texas Rangers in years past, and why the Rangers felt a need for him to come back last year. But having an alcohol disease or or drug disease is something that he's going to have to deal with. And could this be the start of something? I don't think so. I think the Texas Rangers know how to deal with this. If they got to separate him from the team, then they will. They got to separate him from them going out and going to dinner because they're going to have a couple beers here and there. Then they're going to do it. They've got the support system in that organization to help him out. The second thing that I think really caused this was his wife. And somebody's gonna dog me and be like, how did his wife cause this? Okay, I'm gonna get into this. If you're a Ranger fan, you saw a lot of his press conferences early on, and then you saw his press conferences later on. Early on, I mean, when he first came to the Texas Rangers, it was all about, I want to be here with the Rangers. He had the support system of Ian Kinsler, Michael Young, players like that. He had the support system there with him. His wife didn't need to be there. But when he signed the deal with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, what happened then was you could tell his wife was wearing the pants in the family. He would look on over to Katie Chadwick, Katie Hamilton, whatever you want to call her now. Every time he would talk, it's not about the Texas Rangers, it's about the money. Without blatantly saying it, Katie wanted to move out to LA, to California, kind of make it rich, make it famous, and then where he really went downhill and where his fall came was right before he was traded to the Texas Rangers. Katie decided that she wanted to go public and say, hey, I want to be part of the Real Housewives of Orange County. Josh Hamilton's going, oh my word, I cannot believe this is happening. And I'm going, oh my word, I can't believe this is happening either. And so are the Texas Rangers. So, somebody that's very family oriented as Josh Hamilton was, to have his wife say, hey, I want to be part of this reality show. I want to hang out with women. I want to knock it all, man. I want to do this. I want to do that. Could have put fuel on the fire that was kind of already starting. But the number one thing and the most important thing that caused his fall was over the last several years, what drugs and alcohol can do to your body. Let's look at his numbers. Let's look at his numbers going back to 2010. He batted 133 games, 32 home runs, 100 RBIs. 2011, 121 games, 25 home runs, 94 RBIs. 2012, 148 games, 43 home runs, 128 RBIs. All those years with the Texas Rangers, we see. 2013, 151 games, 21 home runs, 79 RBIs. 2014, 89 games, 10 home runs, 44 RBIs. And last year, 2015, 8 home runs and 25 RBIs. What drugs and alcohol do to your body is they age it. And what has happened to Josh Hamilton being in the outfield, an outfielder has a lot of running to do. They have a lot of ground to cover. He's a left fielder, center fielder, right fielder. Those guys have a lot of ground to cover. And for the longest time in 2010, 2011, and 2012, he was a center fielder for the Texas Rangers. That's pretty much the most ground you have to cover as a baseball player is center field. Right field, left field, okay. Center field, you got a lot of ground to cover. So between 2010, 2011, and 2012, he was continuing putting hard work on those legs. He continued last year to crash into walls, to do things that you really can't do when you've had a drug and alcohol addiction. So what do the Texas Rangers need to do in the meantime before Josh Hamilton gets back? what they need to do, first things first. The Rangers signed Drew Stubbs to a minor league deal. That's not the person of iconicness that we're going to speak about here in a few minutes. They also were in contact with Ian Desmond to play left field. Ian Desmond was a shortstop by trade for the Washington Nationals. Basically, what the Rangers need to do is put that same support system around him that he had in 2010, 2011, and 2012. And we, the fans and the players, need to know that it is a disease that he is battling, and it's a disease that he'll battle for the rest of his life. So here's what the Texas Rangers need to do. They need to let his knee heal. You spent practically nothing to get him from the Angels, so let his knee heal. They're still paying for this, guys. They are still paying. Give him all the love and support that you can so that the train does not leave the tracks as it has done many times before. And lastly, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. That's the rise and fall of Josh Hamilton. With that being said, the 1 year, $8 million deal that the Texas Rangers did sign was that of Ian Desmond. Ian Desmond being a shortstop by trade, he only played 2 games in the majors, 2 games in the minors in the outfield. But he came to Texas on the notion of being converted to being the everyday left fielder. Jon Daniels has publicly stated that he will let him play left field. He is the Rangers starting left fielder this year. So, what are my thoughts on the Ian Desmond signing? I think it's a pretty good signing, as we can see with that of Josh Gordon and the Kansas City Royals organization. You can convert an infielder to an outfielder just fine. It takes a little bit of work, but you can do it. Ian Desmond will practically have what I think will be a breakout year. I think he will go back to his 2020. He'll go back to the way he was back in 2014 and before that, when he had won 3 AL batting crowns or NL batting crowns and some silver slugging awards and some fielding awards. It will take work. It will take a little bit more work for him to figure out the outfield. But I do think offensively it will be a breakout year for him. I do think he will make mistakes in the outfield, albeit he's never played there before. And even getting practice there, he's new to it. He's going to make mistakes. It will happen. However, offensively, I think the Rangers did a superb, if not an elite job, by signing him to a 1 year, $8 million deal. Jon Daniels doing what was best for that organization to do what needed to be done to get a starting left fielder in the Rangers organization so that you can develop the likes of that of Nomar Mazara or that of Joey Gallo, where those guys are not having to play the outfield just yet, and they can continue developing themselves in the minors. Will we see Joey Gallo this year at some point? Definitely, we will see Joey Gallo this year at some point. But it will not be the first part of the season. So, the Rangers signing Desmond to be their left fielder. Pretty good deal. Josh Hamilton's out till April. Not a good deal. In other baseball news, today, Aroldis Chapman found out his fate as MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred handed down a 30-game suspension for his domestic violence. You know my take on domestic violence in sports. Players being domestically violent towards their spouse. I'm not going to tread lightly on it. 30 games is a pretty nice suspension. It's a suspension to let Major League Baseball players know that Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball is not going to put up with the hoopla and the junk that the NFL has allowed their players to get away with over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and nothing be done about it. Major League Baseball is taking players to task, albeit Manfred, the 30-game suspension. This does not include spring training. People are going, well, he plays spring training. Yeah, fine. But think about it. He plays in spring training. He gets worked out. He gets stretched out, and he has to sit 30 games. That's not going to fare very well for the New York Yankees. However, it is a penalty in which Major League Baseball needed to hand down. If videos are out, if videos are present, then I take domestic violence very seriously. However, if it's a he said, she said, and no one knows anything about it, I have to only take one side. However, in this case, there were videos. There were, he admitted to it. He admitted blatantly to domestically being violent with his spouse, his other half. So therefore, this suspension is something that Major League Baseball needed, and it's going to send a message not only to him but to other players as well. The other big name that has been brought out and the whole deal is that of Jose Reyes. Will Jose Reyes be penalized as well because allegedly he has been brought out as being domestically violent towards his spouse or significant other? So, will he get the same type of suspension? Will Major League Baseball uh, lower the gavel on him as well? Or are they going to let this one slide because really there's not a lot of evidence for him doing it? That being said, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Going to switch gears. And as I've done before, I'm going to go through the top 25 in the NCAA basketball rankings, the AP top 25. And again, after I get through with the AP top 25, then I'm going to go through and give the ratings as I rank them myself. So this is the AP rankings coming about right now. Number 1, Kansas. Number 2, Michigan State. 3, Villanova. 4, Virginia. 5, Xavier. 6, Oklahoma. 7, Miami. 8, North Carolina. 9, Oregon. 10, West Virginia. 11, Louisville. 12, Indiana. Utah 13, Maryland 14, 15, Purdue, Iowa 16, 17, Duke, Arizona 18, 19, Baylor 20, A&M 21, Iowa State, Kentucky 22, Texas 23, SMU 24, 25 being California. That is the AP top 25. This is how I see the top 25 in my rankings. Kansas remains 1, Michigan State 2, Villanova remains 3, Xavier 4, Virginia 5, Oklahoma 6, Miami stays at 7, North Carolina, Oregon, West Virginia remain the same. 11, Louisville remains the same. Utah 12, 13, Maryland, 14, Purdue, 15, Indiana, 16, Iowa, 17, Baylor, 18, Arizona, 19, Texas A&M, 20, Duke, 21, Kentucky, 22, Iowa State, 23, SMU, 24, California, and 25 being Texas. That's my top 25 in the NCAA rankings. Just coming across the wire, Yasiel Puig will not allegedly be suspended for his domestic violence towards his sister. So, here we go. Aroldis Chapman, domestic violence towards a spouse or significant other. You have Yasiel Puig, domestic violence towards his sister. I'm assuming Major League Baseball is looking at this DV or domestic violence case as only being a sibling rivalry, whereas Major League Baseball is looking at the Aroldis Chapman deal as being a you hit your wife or girlfriend. So that's totally different type deal. Major League Baseball has to be consistent in their suspensions. Otherwise, players will not get it through their thick skulls. The same thing happened in the NFL. The NFL only picks and chooses who they want to suspend, and those players that they don't choose to suspend are the ones that need to be suspended. You cannot half-heartedly go about punishment in any type of sport and expect players on the good side of things to think that your organization or that your league is going to do something good to stop whatever said crime or whatever is going on. The NFL has had that problem, and apparently, if this is true, Major League Baseball will have the same problem. Aroldis Chapman, did he deserve that suspension? Yes, he did. Did Yasiel Puig, if he was he domestically violent with his sister? If he was, he deserves the same suspension. There's not no one player gets this suspension, the next doesn't get this suspension. Because what happens then is players say, hey, if this player gets it and I don't get it, then things are going to start happening amongst the leagues. Cheating in a sport or not doing a sport or a league the right way always backfires. It's like doing a radio station or a television station the wrong way, or a business webinar the wrong way. If you do something the wrong way, people are always going to be able to tell. They're going to be able to tell, and your viewership will hurt. Your ratings will hurt, and people will just stop coming. Same thing in a league or a sport, NFL, MLB. People will notice it. People will stop coming. People will stop paying money to see you. People will stop coming to watch you. People will stop filling the seats. That's not what sports want. They want that money. They want the TV rankings. They want that money from the TV rankings. So if they're going to do it, they need to do it right. Because if you don't do it right, then your viewership, your ratings, and your money are always affected. Just remember that. That is my 2 cents to you, Mr. Rob Manfred. Let's not do this the NFL way. Let's do this Major League Baseball way, and let's do it right the first time. Let's not have to go back and do it because we half-hiney did it the first time. If you're going to do it right the first time. Always do it right the first time. Don't ever wait to do it right the second or third time, because fourth, fifth, sixth time, people have already stopped. They've stopped coming to your games. They've stopped coming to your sporting events. They've stopped buying those players' jerseys because they know that you weren't for real. Are you for real when you suspend Aroldis Chapman for 30 games for domestic violence towards his wife, girlfriend, spouse, whatever she was, but yet Yasiel Puig gets the slap on the wrist? Does that show the fans of Major League Baseball, of the teams, that you are for real against this domestic violence? Does it? No, it doesn't. It just shows that you're NFLing this whole thing. Dare I say it? NFLing. It's a new thing. I'm probably going to start a fad among sports shows. They're NFLing it. They're NFLing it. They're going after certain players and picking certain topics and saying, therefore, this is a penalty. But down here, this is not a penalty. Aroldis Chapman, you get 30 games. Yasiel Puig, you don't get any. What's the difference between the domestic violence towards your spouse, girlfriend, etc.? What's the difference between that and being domestically violent towards your sister, Yasiel Puig, Rob Manfred? Can y'all answer that for me? Can y'all legitimately answer that for me? Probably not. That's the way it goes sometimes. With that being said, I want to wish the Thunder a good second half of the season, because ever since the All-Star break, I think they've literally won 3 games. Seriously, 3 games since the All-Star break. What's the problem with the Oklahoma City Thunder? I think the biggest problem is they're not playing as a team. You're seeing that in the games that they lose. They're not playing as a whole. They're not playing as a team. Durant's wanting to take over. Russell Westbrook is wanting to take over. And when that happens, when you don't play as a team, it affects you as a whole. That's what's happening to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Plus, I think Kevin Durant is having second thoughts about re-signing with the Oklahoma City Thunder. But we'll talk more about that at a later time, or I'll blog more about that at a later time. I'm Jimmy the K. I'm your host each and every Tuesday evening. You see me here on Ustream for the time being, for the next few months, month or so. You can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/allaboutsportszone. You can like us on Twitter. Follow us there at Jimmy Kersey1. You can email me your sports comments, questions, concerns at allaboutsportszone@gmail.com. Or you can go to our personal website at www.screamerproduction.wix.com/allaboutsportszone. Click on the link that says a fan gallery. contact. If you can't get there, then just fill out the form at the front of the page. Get in contact with me with those 4 simple ways. I'm glad that you stopped by. I'm here each and every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. I'm your host, Jimmy the K. Until next Tuesday night, hope to see you then, 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Peace out.